What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we got a ton of new cards revealed for Lightning Overdrive. We've got new Spriggan cards. We've got new Dogmatica cards. We've got new a new Travogate Link monster. We've got this new section of Albus as far as that lore is concerned. So that's really cool. I haven't read any of these cards yet. And we also have a new water monster, which is also cool design on her. So we're going to be getting into all of that today. A bunch of new cards. I don't want to take too much time, so let's just jump into it. You can see Seth laying like a turd behind me, as per usual. Anyway, starting off with the Dogmatica cards, we've got just Dogmaticas, the ritual spell card. This card can be used to ritual summon any Dogmatica ritual monster. Also, you can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn. This card effect says, ritual summon one Dogmatica monster from your hand by either tributing monsters you control or have in your hand whose total levels exactly equal the monster you ritual summon, or by sending one monster with the same level as the monster you ritual summon from your extra deck to the graveyard. That is exactly what I was expecting. For the rest of the turn, after this card is resolved, you cannot special summon from the extra deck. Makes sense. That's pretty clean. That's pretty clean, to be honest. We haven't seen what this what the Dogmatica ritual here does exactly. By the way, we'll get a better look at that real quick. Here's the spell, the ritual spell, and here's the monster. Really awesome art. But anyway, I love that, right? You could dump Ash Dragon, get a search on end phase on top of putting your ritual on the field. You could dump Intis to get a pop while also summoning a ritual monster. Dump Herald of the Arclight, search another ritual card, which is pretty cool. Just a lot of utility there, which is really nice and much more resource efficient than normal ritual cards end up being. Anyway, after this we have Dragma no Albus Knight, which is Dogmatica Albus Knight. This is a level 8 light ritual spellcaster effect monster. 500 attack, which is strange. So weak. 2500 defense, though, so still decent defense. We'll take that. You can ritual summon this card with Dogmaticas, and you can only use the second effect once per turn. First effect reads, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So that's just while it's on the field. Does not say for your opponent. That would be disgusting if it said for your opponent. Second effect says, if an opponent's card or effect is activated, you can send one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard and look at your opponent's extra deck. And if you do, send one monster from there to the graveyard, and this card gains attack equal to half the sent monster's total attack until the end of this turn. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, so this responds to an opponent's card or effect by looking and sending something from their extra deck to the graveyard. So obviously you're probably not trying to send something that would give them value, but maybe potentially a really important card from their extra deck that takes away maybe a specific pivot point in their combo or something that they might need, which is kind of cool. So I'm with it. I think that's actually an okay effect. I don't think it's insane. This card's a little underwhelming for me. I kind of wish if this card was like 25-25, I'd be much more about it, right? But unfortunately, I'm not sure if it's really there for me. It's cool, and I like that they're going this route and kind of trying to hit all avenues, because they have the fusion monsters. Spriggans have the Exceeds. Tri-Brigades have the Links, right? And now we're finally hitting some Dogmatica rituals. I just don't think it's overall that great, but it's okay. Maybe there are more interactions that I'm not sure about, but we'll see about that later. Anyway, next up we have our Spriggan cards. First up here we have our Supreme Arch Serpent Golgonda. Okay, hold on, we need to see this artwork, because this artwork is kind of crazy. This is Golgonda right here, this big fire serpent guy. So you remember how there was Golgonda serpent, the Golden Desert or whatever? This is him, apparently, the big serpent of the desert. Okay, he's a fire reptile. Oh, reptile support. Level 8 with question mark attack and 0 defense. You can only use his first and third effects. First, not second, and third effects once per turn. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, and there is a face-up card in your field zone, you can special summon this card, but banish it if it leaves the field. Okay, jumps on the field really easy. If Vast Desert Golgonda is on the field, this card's original attack becomes 3,000. Okay. Also, If Vast Desert Gold Golgonda is on the field and would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish one monster from your graveyard instead. Okay, not gonna lie, kind of underwhelmed by this card a little bit. Definitely underwhelmed by this card a little bit. It jumps on the field pretty easily. You just need any field spell in your zone to summon this. If it's Golgonda, he's a 3,000 beater that jumps on the field. And if it's Golgonda, he also gives protection to Golgonda as well. So, you know, there is some decency here. He is also a level 8, and we saw the level 8 from the last set, Blazing Vortex, which is actually a pretty good level 8 Exceed monster, or rank 8 Exceed monster, and he can go into that. Okay, not a bad card. We'll see if he fits in with some of these other cards. Next up, we have Spriggans Brothers. This is a Fire Machine effect monster. It's level 4 with 300 attack, 1800 defense. You can only use its first and second effects once per turn each. If this card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you could target a Spriggans monster in grave, except for itself, and special summon it in defense position. The second effect reads, if this card is in your hand, field, or graveyard, you can target a Spriggans Exceed you control and equip it to it as material. Very, very nice. I like this a lot, right? He just says if he's sent from field to graveyard, or hand or deck to the graveyard, not field. If he's sent from hand or deck to the graveyard, so maybe this card makes Foolish Burial playable in the deck. Maybe it makes anything that just like discards from hand playable, right? Because he just immediately gets you a Spriggans monster back from the grave, which seemed to be kind of what was lacking from the first wave in Blazing Vortex, is the deck just didn't do enough engine-wise, but this guy gets you a free monster back. He's essentially just like a Monster Reborn type card, so if you can just get him to the grave, you get a free monster back, which is not half bad at all. So we'll see on that. I think that's pretty good, and then obviously the second effect is pretty mandatory for the Spriggans cards. Next up, we have a new rank 4 for Spriggans. This is Sperrigan's Merrymaker. He's a Fire Machine Exceed. He's rank 4 with 1100 attack, so pretty low attack, but 2000 defense. He takes any 2 level 4s, which is really nice, so he's completely generic there. And you can only use his first and second effects once per turn each. First effect, if this card is special summoned from the extra deck, you can send one Spriggans monster from your deck to the graveyard. That is really clean because that immediately lets you send your Brothers. Then Brothers lets you reborn a Spriggans that is already engraved to get you an additional extender. Very good there. I'd like that immediately. Second effect says during your opponent's main phase or either player's battle phase, you can banish this card until the end phase. Then, if this card had 2 or more materials, you can send one fusion monster that uses Fallen of Albus as a material from your extra deck to the graveyard. So he gives you the ability to tag himself out, kind of like Time Thief Redoer, I guess, like, or I guess what is it? Wind Up Rabbit, right? Like quick effect, banish itself, just to clear it off the field. Guarantee you'll just get it back. And if you banish yourself while it had 2 or more materials, you also get to send like a Ash Dragon to just add a Dogmatica card as follow-up, to add, I guess all the other ones, right? Do all of them take Fallen of Albus? I guess you could technically send the Spriggans one as well to get a search for a Spriggans monster. That's pretty good. I do feel like this card doesn't add to disruption at all. And that's still kind of hurting, right? Like the deck just doesn't make disruption by itself, like at all. Which is still kind of weird, which I still kind of wish maybe this last card will help, but we'll see. The last card here is a continuous spell. That doesn't bode well for disruption. You can only use its first and second effects once per turn each. This card says if a face-up Exceed monster you control leaves the field by card effect, you could target an effect monster your opponent controls. That monster cannot activate its effects that activate on the field for the rest of this turn. And the second effect says you can send this face-up card from the Spell and Trap Zone to the graveyard to activate a Vast Desert Gold Golgonda from your deck or graveyard. So I actually like this card a lot. I think this card is very, very clean. It's continuous, so it just sits up at all times. So this guy is a quick effect. I believe the other rank 8 also has a quick effect. I think it tags itself out in a similar fashion, which then triggers this card to essentially just negate a monster on the field. So this is a card that does contribute to you being able to disrupt your opponent, which I like very much. And then I also love the fact that if you just want the gold desert or Vast Desert Gold Golgonda, this is just that. You activate this, send this to get Gold Golgonda. Cool, you got the field spell. I like that a lot. I'm very much about that. I just think this card is good in either way. You leave it on the field, it adds to disruption. You send it, trade it for a Golgonda. It's a search card, and it gets you to a field spell, which makes this guy much better as an extender. And I think that's actually not too shabby. I'm not mad. I think this support is pretty good all the way around. I do wish this rank 4 did have an actual disruption effect, because I cannot help but feel like Spriggans themselves just do not set up disruption. They just don't set up enough disruption. But we'll see. Maybe it comes better together better than I thought it. I think it does. So we'll see though. Okay. So moving on, we have our Tri-Brigade Link. This is Tri-Brigade Bear Bloom, the Solid Assault. Let's get a look at the art real quick. Okay, so it looks like the new girl, the new mechanic girl riding like a lion machine guy, which is pretty cool. 1700 attack, as we can see. He's a Link 2 Fire Beast Link effect monster. His attack is 17. He points straight to the left and then bottom right, and it requires specifically 2 Tri-Brigade monsters. That's important to note. It is only taking Tri-Brigades, but of course you can cheat him out with the Tri-Brigade effects. Both of its first and second effects are hard once per turns, and the first effect reads, you can discard 2 cards, wow, then target one of your banished level 4 or lower Beast, Beast Warrior, and or Winged Beast monsters, and special summon it. Man, that's kind of a lot. You gotta discard 2 cards, it's kind of brutal. But okay, it gives you a monster back. Second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard, period. Okay. You can add 1 Tri-Brigade spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except for Tri-Brigade monsters. That's also very cool. I like that a lot, because 1, it's just generically if it's sent to graveyard, so you could play something like Extra Foolish Burial. You could play stuff like Dogmatica in conjunction here to just send him with Nadir Servant, then just get an extra search here. Search for an extra Tri-Brigade spell or trap, which is really nice, and then that's follow-up. This does give you a little bit of searchability for the Tri-Brigade spells or traps. I think that's not the worst. I really don't. I'm kind of about it. Okay, I'm into it. Definitely. Cool. I'm about it. And then the next section we have is the Abyss information, which I guess is part of like Albaz's story. So we'll see that. This artwork looks awesome. It almost looks like a hazy flame monster, but I guess this might be Albaz when he goes Super Saiyan. This is Albion the Stegmata Dragon. Okay, so Stegmata might be the next like series of cards for this like lore. This is a level 8 Dark Dragon that's a fusion. 2500 attack, 2000 defense, so the Dark Magician treatment. I think my Dark Magician is 2100 defense. Materials are 1 Fallen of Albaz plus a light monster. Okay, so you're trying to combine, I guess, Albaz plus Dogmatica here, potentially. And both of its effects are a hard once per turn. The first effect reads, if he's fusion summoned, you can fusion summon 1 level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except for itself, by banishing your monsters in hand, field, or graveyard as fusion materials, okay? So you summon this, and then he allows you to summon again another fusion monster. Interesting. Second effect says, during the end phase of this card was sent to the graveyard this turn, you can take 1 Stegmata spell or trap from your deck and either add it to your hand or set it directly to your field. That is really cool. We'll see what the 3 Stegmata cards do, but that could be really cool. I love the searchability of the extra deck in these archetypes here. But a pretty cool card. I don't think the first effect's amazing, but maybe it's okay in certain situations. I think the second effect is really where you're making your money. Send this directly from the extra to the grave. Get an extra search on end phase. Okay, the first card we have is a normal spell. This is Stegmata of White. This is a normal spell. You can only use its first and second effects once per turn each. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using material or monsters you have in hand, including a dragon monster as materials. If you are using Fallen of Albaz, you can also banish materials from graveyard instead, so kind of can act like an invoked in situations. Also, during the end phase of this card was sent to the graveyard this turn to activate the effect of Fallen of Albaza. I think that's just supposed to be Fallen of Albaz. You can set this card back to your field. Okay, so if you sent this off of Albaz, is this like Albaz's discard effect? Like, if you had to discard this for Albus, you can just set it back to your field. Like, I guess that might be what it's saying. I'm not entirely sure there, but okay. Interesting. It's kind of like an invoked card for the archetype. That's okay. And then the next effect, the last one here. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not the last one. The trap. I was looking at the spell. First trap is Stegmata, Ominous Cry. Is a normal trap. You can only use its second effect once per turn. First effect says if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard during this turn, you can special summon one of your fusion monsters from the graveyard, or that is banished. Now, what's interesting there is that if you send a fusion monster directly from extract to grave, I don't think you can summon it off of this. I think it has to be correctly summoned in the first place to even be rebornable off of this, if I'm not mistaken, but we can see, I guess. Also, during the end phase of this card was sent to the graveyard to activate the effect of Fallen of Albus, you can set this card to your field. So, again, same thing. I guess if you discard it off of his effect to do like the Super Poly or the fusion effect, you can just set him back to the field, which is not the worst thing in the world. Could be worse for sure. But the first effect's okay. It's decent, right? As long as you do have a proper fusion target in grave. That's what we're looking for. And the last card here is Judgment of Stegmata. It's another normal trap. You can only use its second effect once per turn. Its first effect reads, target one level 8 or higher fusion monster you control. Destroy all monsters your opponent controls whose attack is higher than or equal to that monster. So you only can destroy things that are bigger than your fusion, which is interesting because a lot of times fusions tend to be bigger than most monsters generally. So that's an interesting disruption effect. And the last effect says, during the end phase, this card is sent to the graveyard to activate the effect of Fallen of Albus. Set it back to your field. Okay, I think they're fine. I don't think any of these cards particularly jump out to me to be amazing, but I mean, this just might be one of those situations where this is apparently the Stegmata cards, which means we could easily just randomly see like 5 more Stegmata cards, just like the same way we saw a bunch of Dogmatica cards in Rise of the Duelist, the same way we're seeing a bunch of Spriggans cards in Blazing Vortex, and maybe this is the set where we're going to get all these, and this is only 4, plus Fallen of Albus's original card, and then maybe we get, you know, a couple more, right? We could see that happen. So, interesting. I'm curious to see how, like, the final, like, put together goes with, like, all these cards, because it just seems like everything's sort of starting to close in together, but it's just not quite there yet. But I guess we'll see at some point in the future. And the last card we have here is, what's her name? Amabi-san. Okay. It's a water fairy effect monster. It's level 3 with 0 attack and 0 defense. And its effect reads, at the start of your main phase 1, you can reveal this card in your hand. Both players gain 300 life points. Alright. I don't know why anybody would play this, but okay. Let me just make sure there's no more new cards here. Update that. Okay, we are good there. That's all the new cards. Really, really cool. We got, what, 4 new Spriggans cards, got 2 new Dogmatica cards, 1 new Travogate card, and the next portion of this lore, which is the Stegmata cards. Really curious to see if they go deeper into this. The cards don't seem like they really fit together like they want to, so I'm really hoping we get a couple more cards for the Stegmata lore, and hopefully they really like solidify things up there and make that like a competent little engine going on. But until then, I will keep you updated. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, throw your thoughts down below in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about these new cards. Does Spriggans become legit here? I'm not sure if I believe that, but how much more legit do you think they become? What is Stegmata's deal? Like, what are they trying to do? Just let me know all your thoughts down below. I'm always reading the comments. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.